Up next, Joe Rogan is presented with Graham Hancock's theory about Antarctica, where he reveals that Antarctica might be different than we know today. This is a conversation from episode 1897.
When you go back to what you think are the origins of sophisticated civilization, how far back are we talking?
One of the things I find most striking is the presence of Antarctica on ancient maps, because we didn't discover it until 1820, and yet it's on maps drawn in the 1500s with great detail, which again were based on much older source maps that have now been lost to us.
Here, Hancock is talking about the Pinkerton world map. Look at this. The map, which was created by John Pinkerton in 1812, doesn't show Antarctica at all, but instead just shows an empty hole where it's supposed to be. Listen to what Hancock has to say about this.
Based on the latest exploration data at that time, and where Antarctica is, it just shows a hole where Antarctica is. Because it was an honest map. Nobody had found it by then. But if you go back to, for example, the Wolsey-Muller world map drawn in 1530 or thereabouts, you find Antarctica is present. If you can find Wolsey-Muller world map, it would be worth taking a look at. That map shows Antarctica exactly where it should be. And it shows it, there we go, right-hand side. There's Antarctica at the tip of South America, just south of South Africa.
The map he's talking about here is the Orientius Phineas world map, found in the Library of Congress in 1960. And look at this. Drawn in 1531, the map actually does show Antarctica as a continent. Rogan quickly asks what it was called, and Hancock explains.
Well, they call it the Southern Land, and it's larger than it is today, but it was larger than it is today during the Ice Age. Antarctica was a much bigger. Now, what the is it doing on a map drawn in the 1500s, which we know was based on older source maps when nobody knew it existed in the 1500s? To me, the obvious answer is we are dealing with the fingerprints of a lost civilization that mapped the world and that left evidence of that mapping, which ancient map makers found and used and incorporated into their map.
See this map? The most fascinating part of these maps is that if you zoom in and look closely, Antarctica actually appears to be free of ice, green, and most importantly, has several significant rivers mapped onto it. Hancock explains it by saying this.
These maps can be very confusing because they were trying to mix exploration data from their own period with data from the older maps. But when you look at these maps in depth, they're very, very intriguing.
Next up, Rogan argues the simulation theory with the show's guest.